Yeah. So currently what I do is all fitness.
Hmm.
For a long time, that wasn't my gig. My gig was Casa Bonita.
No
So
way.
yeah, which is kind of crazy. They're opening right now.
Shout out Casa Bonita.
Shout out to Casa Bonita. Those were great years of my life.
Mm.
I was there for 21 years, and for a long time, that's what I was known for, was always Casa Bonita. So all my online presence, everything on social media was linked to Casa Bonita. All the phone calls, people would text me. It was always about Casa Bonita. Can we get a spot by the water? And I loved that. And I loved my time in that environment. And I'll tell you what, I'd still be there today if life didn't change for all of us.
Yeah. Wow.
So, and I'm excited for them now. It's a big deal. I know that's a big deal for Denver. It's a big deal for Colorado.
Yeah.
Matt and Trey are just fantastic human beings. I think those guys are the epitome of what Colorado is.
Yeah.
I met those guys a few times at the restaurant. We did their cast parties for the Book of Mormon.
Oh, wow. Cool.
Which was incredible. Yeah. They, well, I'll tell you, my first interaction with Matt and Trey was, I can't remember her name, but she was there. They were like the girl that did their press. And I wish I could remember her name, but she contacted us, and this is back in like 2011. And she said, Matt and Trey are thinking about doing an episode of Casa Bonita. And we just kind of wanted to see what you guys felt about that. So the GM is the one that handled the call. He came and talked to us. It was me, Mike, Mason, Pierre Osby. We were the three big GMs there. And we just said, it's probably not a good idea, because the nature of the show.
Yeah.
We're a family restaurant. And, if you had looked prior to now, there was no swearing. We were very family oriented.
Mm-hmm.
And so we got back in touch with them, and Mike said, hey, we appreciate the offer, but it's just probably not a good idea for us. And she said, it airs on Wednesday. We're just giving you a heads up. And we were deathly afraid of that. And, there's two of the longest days. We were waiting for that episode to come out, and it came out. And it was the best thing that happened to us because it kind of resurrected that environment. Mm-hmm. And then those guys, every time Casa Bonita had that episode air for South Park, we just got a big boom. Mm-hmm. For like 2 weeks, we're 15% up in sales. And then they contacted us when they wrote the Book of Mormon, and they wanted to do their cast party at the restaurant, which is something we never did. We don't do cast parties. We don't stay open after hours, but we did that for those guys. And I'll always remember my first experience meeting those two guys. They showed up, and they looked just dead.
They had to have been, right? This is a wrap party essentially for the first opening season of the musical, or what is it?
Yeah. So they came into. It was their first opening in Denver, and it was the first year of the Book of Mormon. And those guys and I think we always view celebrities as just bigger than life. They're not human. Mm-hmm. They're not real. And when those guys came in, I was very excited to meet them. And that was my first impression of them, is these guys are tired. They're worked. You could tell they're overworked. They put everything into what they're doing. Mm. And they were very polite. They were very gracious. They gave me tickets to the dress rehearsal. So that was a big deal for me.
Yeah,
I went to the dress rehearsal for the first showing of the Book of Mormon in Denver.
Wow.
Yeah, I was so excited for it. I showed up there, and it was only like friends and family. And when it was over, and it was an incredible show. If you've never seen it, if any of you have never seen it.
It's hard to get tickets still.
Yes. It's fantastic. I was blown away by how good it was.
Yeah.
It starts off, and you're like, it's like a musical, and it starts off, and then you'll know when you watch it, it turns. There's a left-hand turn, and then the rest of the show is crazy. But it was great, and I'll always remember this. I took this girl with me. She was like my romantic interest at the time. Mm-hmm. And we left. Everyone was going to the right, and she said, let's go to the left. We turned and took a left, and there was Trey Parker. And my first impression of Trey when I saw him the second time, this was like 3 days after after the cast party. Mm. He was wearing the exact same clothes. He was wearing blue jeans and this Denver Bronco t-shirt. And I just looked at him and was like, oh my goodness, the guy hadn't even changed his clothes. and we walked up, and I said, hey, can we get a picture with you? And he had a brief millisecond of annoyance. You could barely see it where he was, and he immediately corrected that.
Wow.
And it was so endearing. He just corrected and he was like, yeah, I'd love to take a picture. So I got a picture with my date. I got a picture with her and him. And I was like, yeah, I'm not going to get in the picture. I'm just going to let him go. We let him go. And I'll always remember that, just how gracious that he was. And I'll tell you, what's kind of crazy is, and I'm spacing his name, but our neighborhood is full of, and a lot of you don't know this.
Oh, yeah.
Me and Brandon are neighbors, and we'll get to that too.
Oh yeah, we definitely will. That's a great story.
We're going to get to that too. But yeah, we're neighbors actually. And the guy who's building Trey's house is our neighbor. Yeah, he's like the lead contractor.
Wow.
So they're building a house in Morrison right now, right up the road.
Wow.
So Trey is planning on living here in Colorado. And for someone who's put his heart and soul into Casa Bonita, I was very worried that these guys were going to come in and they were just going to buy it and not be present. And it appears that they're very invested into the place. I know when I worked at the restaurant, I mean, like I said, you have people come. There's people there. There's guys camped out in the parking lot right now waiting to get in.
No, my friend has reservations for November.
Yeah.
It's like, and those were hard to get. I mean, it's just wild.
It is wild. So, and those guys, like I said, this isn't just something they're doing.
No.
They're invested into it. And I knew when we were at the restaurant, they had their office in California was named Casa Bonita. And they did birthday parties there at the restaurant when they were kids. So it was something they loved.